Hey guys, it's John again from Fishyaker.com. I'm here with my good buddy Miles from Sweetwater TV. We're just going to do a little bit of talking about fishing, talk to him and kind of see where he's coming from and how he got where he is at such a young age in his life, and just, see what comes to our minds to talk about. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey Miles, thanks for coming on to Fishyaker. I know it's a Friday evening. I know we both probably got stuff to do. I really want to, tell me so I appreciate you coming on. How you been doing this week, man?
Dude, first off, thanks for having me, man. It is a Friday, but you know what? Being a fisherman, I don't have a regular job right now, so it's like I actually was on the kayak earlier today, and so just having a good time. You're joining me right here in Central California, which I'm usually, in the South, but I moved over to here in Central California for a little bit here in Santa Cruz, and life is good, man.
Yeah, you and I kind of just a few years ahead of you in my transitions. I went from the South to the North, whereas you went from the South to the West, and but I think you moved out there for your wife for school, right?
Yeah. So get this, because. So I was born in Florida. I lived in Florida for a while. That's kind of where I got my love for fishing in general. And then we moved up to Connecticut. We've still got that house in Connecticut, so I go up there every once in a while. And then we moved to California when I was a kid. And so I went to school here in Northern California, actually, for all my schooling years and stuff like that. And then as soon as I was done there, moved to the South, and I've been there for college and was back in Florida for a bit for going to UCF over there, and then I went up to Alabama, lived there for a bit, just pursuing this dream of becoming a professional bass fisherman. And now I'm back, like you say, I'm back on the West Coast because of my wife. She's going to school to be a dental hygienist. And it's really cool. One of the really cool things about moving, and this, is that you get to experience a lot of different types of fishing, and this is no different. I mean, I'm right on the ocean, and I have not gone on the ocean once.
Ah, man.
All these little places to go bass fishing.
Yeah, that was like me. I mean, everybody now, because I've been in Pennsylvania since 2009, everybody's like, well, John, he's a smallmouth guy. Well, the guys that have been around a while know that when I started doing this and guiding and stuff, it was 15, 20 years ago back in Virginia for redfish. So I'd never, to be totally honest, I'd never even caught a smallmouth until probably 2007. Yeah. So to be honest, the evolution, and again, my wife went to college, and I was doing all sorts of stuff while she was in school, and that's when I got into law enforcement. So that's really cool, man. So I respect you for doing that while your wife's in school. That's very cool.
Well, this sport, this industry, whether it's kayak fishing or on the pro tournament trail or filming our show Sweetwater, it's really time intensive. Your family makes a lot of sacrifices. You make a lot of sacrifices. So I figured that it's my time to really make that sacrifice, move over here. This is definitely not ideal here because I'm 5 hours away from my bass boat.
Yeah.
Which that was super hard for me. And then when Old Town decided to become a partner of Sweetwater, and I got their Predator XL, lifesaver. I was able to finally go fishing. So yeah, it's give and take when it comes to relationships in this sport, and finally I'm able to kind of settle into my own here and still go fishing every day. Yeah, it is a good thing to be able to give that to her.
Absolutely, and the kayak is great because if you're not near the powerboat, with me, I grew up at powerboats, and then I wanted to access a lot of backwater, tidal, swamp, cypress type of stuff, and it opened up a whole new world of it where I could get into places where you couldn't get the powerboats into. And back then, there was no such thing as kayak fishing. You took a canoe or you took a kayak and you might have fished out of it. So, yeah. So when did you actually start getting into fishing or really get serious with it?
So let me recline for this. Let me just get comfortable. Here we go. It's a long story. So essentially, I've always been just always a fisherman. Ever since I was little, my first experience was, I can remember when I was 3 years old. It was the only memory I have really, is catching a nurse shark off our dock down in the Florida Keys. And that just hooked me. It was just that one fish. And then from there, we moved around a lot, like I said, and during high school, it's when I really started taking it seriously. I was reading Bassmaster magazine and over here a lot of the Western publications and things like that. And I'm reading about all these guys that are fishing professionally. And of course, from the outside looking in, they look like they're making millions of dollars and they're just living down the hog. Which, it's for me, that was just so awesome. And I don't know, one thing, I don't know if I told you this before, but my dad was actually an actor, and he played Radar on MASH.
Cool.
And so that, having a dad that had actually gone after his dreams, he left high school to go to New York and pursue his dreams, and he succeeded through hard work.
Now, what is your nickname?
Sonar.
Ah, see?
That's why people call me Sonar. A lot of people,
there you go.
I'm good with electronics, which I am, but it's because of my dad. But cool. But yeah, I just, after that, man, decided that senior year of high school, I was going to go for it. And the next year, I moved to Florida, lived in a travel trailer for 8 years, and that allowed me to keep my overhead low. It allowed me to be close to the bodies of water that I wanted to fish, as well as the colleges that I was going to, and that did it for me. And then I jumped into college fishing. College bass fishing was just getting into the beginning of its heyday, and that kind of took off for me. I won a national championship doing that, and kind of got my name going on there through that. And then the Oakley Big Bass Tour signed me on as their host for their fishing show. And then, the rest is history. Just kind of still fishing tournaments, trying to make my way up to that next level. We started working on Sweetwater 2 years now, and that's doing
congratulations.
Thank you.
Very cool show. Tell us a little about what it's like filming a show, how many days in the water you are, without telling too many secrets, obviously.
Yeah. Oh, I've got no secrets in fishing or in the industry. Honestly, I think that I'm really most proud of the way that we do our show, because I think that it's the most organic fishing show that you can possibly have. Because we literally go out there. For the last 2 years, we've gone out to these lakes that we may have been to before, but we hadn't been on the water, hadn't really talked to anybody. Sure, if we know somebody that knows that lake really well, obviously we don't want to waste our time because we're spending a lot of money to film there.
Yeah.
But, we actually just go to those lakes, go fishing in a day, and I think there's 1 or 2 episodes that we've actually done that have taken more than a day to film. That's it. But all the rest of them, going out there trying to figure them out ourselves. And I think we've gone with a guide maybe twice, which you'll see on camera. He's there. It's not like he's sitting in the background telling us what to do. But yeah, that's cool. We generally take about a month out of the year to film all our episodes for our season. That includes travel and all that. So it's really not that time intensive. Those few weeks where we do go fishing and we do film a lot of our stuff, they're pretty intense. We're out on the water every single day, and we're just exhausted. But outside of that, I'm primarily fishing tournaments and now fishing out of the kayak. I'm fishing out of the kayak 4 days a week now.
That's awesome. So what are you usually targeting in the kayak?
Bass right now. We've got some really killer, small, tiny little lakes in this area, San Jose area, Monterey Bay. Not very well known. I've actually got a little pond a block from my house that I had been eyeballing for the last year and a half, and I'm just like, there's got to be bass in there. And one day, as soon as I got the kayak, I don't know if you know Alan Bushnell.
Yep, I know Alan.
You know Bushy?
Yep.
Yeah, Bushy. He lives in this area, so he's just like, we got to go out fishing, And so I ended up going with him the first day and caught some really, really nice bass. And so that was just a kind of a breath of fresh air to be able to go out to someplace right next door, finally and go fishing. But we've got some other really cool lakes around here, primarily just largemouth bass. But we've got some just Haas fish out there.
That's cool. And for those that don't know, you know, we got to hang out at the Bassmaster Classic in Tulsa, and we talked some about the boats. So you've gotten the Old Town Predator XL with the MK. For those not familiar with the kayak industry or the boat itself, it has the Minn Kota console package in it. So you're looking at a kayak with an integrated electric motor, with the Minn Kota, but you can also take the motor out and put the consoles and actually paddle like a kayak. So are you using it with a motor or with the paddle? Are you just paddling it?
Funny you mentioned that, because today I went out for the first time with just the flush Exo Ridge mount, you know, console in the bottom to just make it flush. So I was paddling today for the first time, and man, I tell you what, makes you realize you're not in that great a shape if you're not, man. You really have to work for it. So but I actually liked it a lot. I got a power pole micro that I'm about to put on. I just got a rack system, a rail system for it to be able to mount it on there.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do that. But between that and the power pole and paddling, I don't know. That kind of seems like a really good setup to me. But the troll motor has been the primary, you know, thing that I've been doing, and it's unbelievable how maneuverable that craft is, and the fact that you know you have hands-free fishing. I love it. I mean, I wasn't sure exactly, you know, how awesome it would be, but they did it right, because it's like they didn't just use a 5-speed trolling motor. It's a variable, 100% variable speed, both forward and reverse, which is big for me because I hate those 5 speeds. You're always looking for that kind of
like click,
middle
click.
ground.
Yeah.
Looking for that middle ground to try to like have the right speed. With this one, you could literally just have it going like this.
Yeah, the maximizer on that, you know, uses less energy, but off of the less juice off the battery. But yeah, you can get exactly as fast or as slow as you want to, forward, reverse. Here's a question for you: going from power boats. Now, again, I've been doing this for a long time, so I think differently on this stuff. Going from the power boats to the kayak, the first thing we always get from people, like when we were at the Classic, people who've never been in a kayak in their life, oh, well, I'll tip that thing over. What was your first feeling the first time you sat inside the kayak and shoved off the shore?
It was extremely stable. I mean, I've been in kayaks before, and even with that high setting on the element seating system, where you can put it up in kind of the tack mode, is what I call it. You know, I even then, when you have a high center of gravity, you still have a lot of stability.
Yep.
Now, that being said, if you happen to lose a GoPro in the water and you're out there looking for it and trying to dredge with a big net, make sure that you pay attention to that weight transfer, because you might end up in the water, which I know from personal experience now. I was a wet rat last week. I lost my GoPro Hero 4, one of them, and in the water, you know, taking a picture like a 5-6 pounder, and it fell, and then I went back the next day and totally just got drenched, you know. But overall, I mean, if you're not horsing around in that thing, if you're just normal fishing, you know, it's easy to stand up, it's easy to stay stable. And it's amazing. It truly is for a kayak.
Well, the thing with the tipping, a couple of years ago, I actually got on video with my GoPro where I actually had a fish off to my left. It was about a 5-pound bass. I'm netting the bass, leaning to my left, netting it, as my right-hand side bumped into a submerged log. So the shore was to my right, and of course the camera's rolling, and all you see is almost like slow motion. It just goes over, and you can actually hear the water on the camera.
Yeah.
And all I remember is being underwater. And I mean, I knock on wood, I don't turtle that often. And all I saw was my rod still hooked with a fish going off. I could see it under the water.
Dude.
So I dove at the thing, and I still landed the fish. But it's one of the coolest shots ever. So it happens to you once, but it's good to get it out of your system the first time.
Well, that brings up like the number one thing that I've learned kayak fishing is, number one, wear a life jacket all the time.
Absolutely.
Have that thing on. And that Carlisle, no, it's not Carlisle. The life jackets that
the Extra Sports.
Exosport. That Exosport is tremendous, man. I even use it on my bass boat, but that's the first thing. And then the second thing is tether anything you want to keep, tether it down. You know, keep it tied down, and then also work out a system if you do have the Minn Kota one. Work out a system where you know what you're going to do in an event that you do turn over with that big battery. You got to figure out what you're going to do, and always keep that in mind because you got that big 40-50 pound battery in the back there, and if you tip over, it does have a little strap on it. But at the same time, you might want to work out another system, something to make sure that doesn't, you know, you don't lose control of that. And maybe even the best situation is just let it sink, you know.
Yeah.
It's, you trying to get that thing back in a boat might not turn out too good.
Forget about it.
Yeah, but overall, just keep things tied up, and that was the one thing because that was a $500 camera I lost. You know, so.
Well, you might find it someday, and you'll have the footage.
Yeah, I sure would, man, because that was a really cool footage. What happened was I was working. I had this fish, and I had worked different angles, and I put it on this little side mount that I had, and I noticed that it started to come off, and I'm like, oh, I can get one more picture, and went down there, and I'm like lifting up the fish, admiring it, and then all of a sudden I hear this little plop, and then I look down and I see it just slowly going down there. And the thing that sucks about that lake is that it's known for having a toxic algae bloom. Mm-hmm. So it's like the next day when I went and actually fell in the water, I was like terrified. It felt like I was a kid again, like 5-year-old kid that falls in the water, don't know what's down there. There's like monsters, but I'm like a wet rat trying to get back in that kayak, and like I'm trying to keep my lips closed so I don't suck any algae down. Even though there's no algae right now.
Well, that's what we always try to talk about, and I do some work with a couple of different Heroes in the Waters chapters. If you're going to fish out of a kayak, prepare to get wet. You know, before you get out into the open water, especially by yourself, take it to a pool, take it to a local pond, flip it intentionally, and try to get back into it. You know, that's really worth it. Take some friends with you and just practice it without a lot of your stuff, like you're saying, leashed down. With nothing in it, so you don't have to stress about it. So you can know what it's like to get back into it, because you don't know if you're out there by yourself or for some reason you don't have a life jacket on. You know what to do. Now, I know there's a few guys out there that make like re-entry ladders and stuff like that. If someone wants to get that, some of those things work really well, or simply using your paddle to straddle it. Now with the XL, because it's a larger boat, you can kind of reach across it. I mean, sometimes, especially like you say, if you have the battery in it, may be harder to get it right side up because it's a bigger boat with a weight under it. But it's such a stable boat. I think it would probably be a lot easier. Knock on wood, I have never flipped my XL because it is rock solid. I mean, that thing you might not have done it yet, but you can stand up in the thing and walk around in it.
Oh, I stand up in it every single day. And it is rock solid. I mean, you're not going to have any problems. Mine was just this weird situation where I'm hanging over the side. I've been doing it for an hour and a half, and I finally just got to the point where I was getting frustrated and not paying attention as much. And so I got, you know, and I'm a big guy, so me, you know, even with the 600-pound capacity that thing has, it was just not a good position for me. But that's a really good point, is like having somebody get that first experience. I was amazed at how easy it was to flip back over. Yeah. But at the same time, you know, if you're in a dangerous situation, you want to know exactly what to do, because panic is the worst thing that could happen to somebody in that kind of situation. You know, I work in Alaska, and you know, that's one of the things that we think about all the time as a guide up there is what type of emergency situation we're going to have possible. And, you know, how not to go crazy, you know, and freak out in that moment.
I mean, that's the thing. Like we talk about, I preach about it all the time. And my cousin actually drowned kayaking a number of years ago. And I've known people that have died kayak fishing. It doesn't take long. I mean, if you're even during the summer, if you have like cool wind and the water temperature drops a little bit, you can become hypothermic so fast. So I always preach to people, especially this time of year, you get an unseasonably warm day, the water temperature is still cool. You can get in trouble really fast. You hit the water, you go into shock. What do you first do? You gulp for air. And if you're in the water, you're going to fill with water, and it's going to lower your core temp that much quicker, and you're going to go into shock.
Yeah. It's very, very easy, and just human beings get kind of cocky and
Yeah.
pretty over, sure of themselves, and when it comes to water sports, man, you got to always have that life jacket on, man. It's hard because nobody really likes wearing a life jacket. Let's face it, it's like wearing a helmet. If we can do it without, that would be awesome. But you can't. You really can't. You need to wear your life jacket.
But the kayak fishing jackets are cool because you've got the pockets. And I talk about that a lot too, is because I'm so used to when I was at the sheriff's office wearing body armor and I
Yeah.
had Velcro and pockets and stuff on an external vest. It's the same way. Because of a kayak, you need everything close by within reach. And you
Yeah.
don't have that much area on it. You don't have, storage areas like you do on a bigger boat. So you can put things like your needle nose and, things of that nature in your, scissors and stuff in your pockets of the life jacket. You can clip your VHF right to it too. So really, I'm so comfortable. I don't even think twice about it. If I don't have my life jacket on, I feel awkward because I don't have my stuff right there. So like you said, when I even go out in the power boats, I still usually wear my life jacket because most of my tools are right there.
Yeah. No, that's true. I mean, it is like a utility vest. It's kind of like I used to have this thing that my buddies back in college when I was fishing college tournaments. They called it the Wizard Pack because it was my little fanny pack. I actually wore a fanny pack. I'll admit it, but it was for pure efficiency out in the water during tournaments. And it had a cup holder. It had all the soft plastics that I was using that day. If I'm doing like a flipping pattern or something like that, I don't have to go in the bottom of the boat, go get it. And so it's the same exact thing with the life jacket. It's really nice having. I keep my cell phone on this side, and I keep all my plastics on the other side.
That's cool. That's cool. So I mean, it's been really good talking to you. What do you have any more tips or anything before we close out? Because we've been on here now, I don't know, 15 plus minutes. Not to try to cut you off 20 minutes, but what do you have like recommendations for people in general? What's the main question people ask you when they meet you?
I tell you what, there's something that I like to tell everybody. And when it comes to fishing, there's so many different techniques, especially in bass fishing, that it really gets convoluted. It really gets overwhelming. Bass Pro Shops is massive. They're one of our partners, and going in there, I even get overwhelmed. And you want to spend all your money. But if I had one piece of advice for everybody out there, fish your strengths. Start at the basics.
Right.
Start with something that you feel comfortable with, that you're catching fish on, and just keep on building upon that foundation. Don't try to do too much too fast, because if you do that, a lot of times you're just going to muddle your brain with all this information and all this contradictory information, which is bad. And you want to just go out there, go fishing, and find your own little niche in fishing. The best guys in the sport, whether it's tournament fishing or fun fishing, just ambassadors of the sport, they know what they do best, and that's what you guys should too.
Thanks, Miles. Tell us before we close out how people can see your show, when it comes on, they can look it up online, any of that type of stuff.
Absolutely. Sweetwater, you can watch Sweetwater at sweetwaterfishingtv.com. We've got a link to our Sweetwater blog, which we update weekly, and we answer questions there. You can also watch the episodes that we have on TV on like your Roku device, any internet enabled device, your smart TV. You can go to Waypoint TV Outdoor or waypointtv.com, or just download the Waypoint TV app. That has a lot of different fishing shows on it. It's really cool, and it has Sweetwater on it, so you can watch it on your TV, which is something that I've been doing. And then also go to our Sweetwater Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram, and then you can visit myself, Miles Sonar Burghoff at Facebook, and then Instagram at Sonar Fishing, and then Twitter it's Miles Burghoff. You can find me on there, and then sonarfishing.com is my website. So a lot to take in there.
Thanks for being on, Miles. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Toast. Thanks.
Thanks, man. And as always, please, everybody, be sure to subscribe to the Fishyaker YouTube channel. Like us on Facebook. We'll catch you on the water.
Fishyaker.com, the original kayak rigging video series.